Okay. Welcome everybody to the podcast. This is Joseph. I have my dad here. He's also named Joseph.
But you can call me Joe, just like the rest of my friends.
And we have my brother Samuel.
Hello.
And he's here as a guest. So this is our first episode. And we just wanted to talk about what the podcast is going to be about and what we're going to do here and who we are. So, Dad, do you want to introduce yourself?
All right. Well, my name is Joe, and I am one of those guys who's done a little bit of everything, maybe, or maybe not a whole lot of everything, but a little bit. But currently working in sales in a landscape industry, and I'm an ordained Baptist minister and a family man. Like to play a little bit of music. Like to do a little bit of fishing and things like that in my spare time. And looking forward to welcoming our fourth son, here soon. But love being dad to these two guys and also some others who aren't with us here today. Joseph, why don't you give us a little bit of who you are?
Okay, yeah, we both like playing music. I am a nerd in pretty much every aspect of the word. So, I'm a theology nerd, a history nerd, even though I don't know much about it. It's I'm a nerd, but I'm not good at being a nerd. So, yeah, I like playing music. I work at Chick-fil-A. And you'll figure out more about me as the show goes on. Samuel?
My name is Samuel, and I don't play music because I don't know how. And
Well, you started on the harmonica this weekend.
yeah, I did, but I like collecting Lego, Lego. Are you okay?
Great time to choke on my water. Sorry, Samuel.
Yeah, speaking of water, we're calling the show A Cup with Joe because we're going to be drinking a coffee usually when the show's happening. Or that was the idea.
No alcohol.
Well, obviously.
You said we're going to be drinking.
That's not right. Okay. Yeah, Samuel's 12. Me and Samuel have the same birthday, so
yeah,
we're not the same age. Neither of us are the drinking age,
My twins, 7 years apart.
and we're Baptists too. So,
yeah.
but I'm drinking Body Armor. Dad, what are you drinking?
Well, it's ice water, but apparently it has bones in it. I'm just choking on them.
Samuel.
I'm drinking Diet Mountain Dew. This is the only thing besides water we have. And
I mean, water's good too, but
yeah, but I don't know.
Well, we needed to be sure we're drinking something because today my Jeep thermometer registered triple digits.
Ooh.
For an extended period of time, so
Dang.
And
it's hot.
also, I would just like to say I'm working Dad works landscaping as his job, but I work at Chick-fil-A. They're doing a remodel right now, so I'm working landscaping while I do that.
For separate companies, as a matter of fact, but with no rivalry or anything there, just a friendly partnership between the two landscape companies, but it's just an interesting
But
scenario.
there's different focuses though, right?
Definitely different focuses. We work well together, I believe.
I don't think either of them are fun in the heat.
Nothing is fun in the heat.
No. In fact, this podcast is pretty hot right now because we had to turn the AC off. But we do it for y'all.
For the views.
I'm just kidding. We do it for ourselves.
For
just
the
kidding.
views, guys.
So, Joseph, why don't you go into a little bit of detail, if you can. And we are kind of shooting from the hip tonight, with it being the first episode. And honestly, with it being as hot as it is, I think we're all just slightly delirious. But, Joseph, if you want to go into maybe a little detail about kind of what to expect in the future with the podcast, kind of maybe some direction that you'd like to see things go, some of the possibilities for the future.
Well, I mean, we've talked a lot about it, and we've talked about doing this for a long time and never actually did anything. I did like one episode that it was just me like reacting to stuff, but I don't even know if did you watch that?
I didn't know you published it, to be honest.
I did, but the way I did it, I don't know. It was very like organized, which isn't bad, but like I'd rather do it where I'm talking to somebody, not just by myself, and also where we can just talk about whatever we want.
So I think having a little bit of freedom, maybe not pigeonholing our podcast into one particular genre, so
Right.
to speak. But I like the idea of having the freedom to talk about whatever we want to. It could be serious at times. It could be completely whimsical at times. It could be
Right.
whatever. I like the idea, the title, A Cup with Joe. We both happen to have the name Joseph or Joe. And I like the idea of having a conversation for about the same amount of time it takes to drink a cup of coffee.
Right, and we both love coffee.
We both love coffee, that's for sure.
Yeah, spend way too much money on coffee.
Way too much money on coffee, that's for sure.
But yeah, we're not like tied down. And I think a lot of times, at least with the podcast I listen to, people might go in with a plan and the podcast ends up writing itself, like the story, instead of the people taking control of it. It kind of just happens.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, you mentioning the podcast you listen to, what are some of the ones that you like? Which podcasts are you into at the moment?
Right now, my favorite, I'm listening to a lot doing this job because, at Chick-fil-A, we're not really allowed to listen to a lot of stuff because we have to be able to communicate with each other a lot. And we can use speakers, but not everybody likes my podcast. So I only do that in certain times, like when I'm breading and nobody else can hear. But you can't use earbuds at Chick-fil-A, that's for sure. But to answer your question, my favorite right now is probably The Blurry Creatures. We talked about that a lot. If y'all don't know who that is, go check it out. It's a good podcast. I listen to a lot of like theology stuff. I listen to sermons. A big variety. A lot of it right now is just whatever pops up on my Spotify page because it kind of figured me out. But there's a lot. So, what about you?
Well, I've taken a big step back in podcast listening, unfortunately. The nature of my job, most of the time I am on the road a lot in a vehicle. And once upon a time I had a vehicle that would connect to my phone and I could listen to podcasts. And during those days I was, which really in reality wasn't that long ago, but in recent times I'm in a different vehicle where I can't connect, and it's not entirely safe to go earbuds in the car. But when I have a chance to listen, I listen to The Briefing with Al Mohler.
Yeah,
I
me
try
too.
to hit that one every morning. I love current events from a biblical worldview, and that's what Dr. Mohler's about. And then I like Cooper stuff. John Cooper, lead singer of Skillet. He's got kind of the political current events. Also, though, from a Christian perspective, John, long-time, real deal Christian in the music industry, and I really appreciate him. Had the opportunity to meet him years ago. Just such a genuine guy.
Wait, you met John Cooper?
I did, yeah.
I don't know if I've heard about that.
You
Actually,
ever heard
yeah,
the
I
story?
did.
Yeah, it was years and years ago. I was a much younger man, probably not much older than you are now. But Skillet played over in a town or two over from us, small, intimate venue, and John was just so gracious with his time and just hanging out as people were tearing down. And
Well, it's
after
one of
the
those
show.
like you hear Skillet's music and you're like, are they really Christian? And then when you look into it, they're pretty awesome people.
pretty blatant. And I will say this too, in more recent times, being at the shows, and when I say recent, nothing's recent, but more recent than when I met John, hanging side stage with some of the musicians in the band, some of the other band members. That whole band just is genuine. They're real and so gracious with their time, and just really, it's somebody you can look up to, in my opinion.
Right.
But also, as far as podcasts go, getting back to the original question, I am a huge, as you know, huge fan of the Robertson family, Duck Dynasty, those
course.
guys. Uncle Si, of course. So I love the Duck Call Room with Uncle Si, and I love
Unashamed.
Unashamed. Thank you. I was thinking about Phil's show Into the Woods, and I was thinking that's not the right name.
Into the Woods?
Yeah, he had a I think it was a television show for a little while.
I remember
maybe
that.
on Blaze. I can't remember. Or it might have been a podcast too. Honestly, I didn't listen to it, but I just remember hearing the name. But yeah, Unashamed with Phil and Jace and Al, and unfortunately Phil's gone on to be unfortunately for us, fortunately for him, Phil's gone on to be with the Lord now, and that's going to change that podcast for certain. But yeah,
they have Al and Jace, right?
Oh yeah, Jace, Al, and then man, I hate that I can't remember his name. He's a cousin from North Carolina, Black Mountain.
I know who you're talking about.
Golly, I should know his name. Listen, if you're listening to this, cousin, don't hate me for that. But I'll think of it here in a little bit when it's a little too late and it doesn't make sense to remember.
Well,
But
yeah.
then one more, and you actually turned me on to this one. What's Dwayne's?
Oh yeah, Dry Creek Wrangler School.
Dry Creek Wrangler School. You talk about just kind of cowboy wisdom,
Down
common
to
sense. Really appreciate that podcast, and grew to like it a lot. So.
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of wisdom. I guess I didn't think of him because I usually think of him more as a YouTube channel, which I mean it's kind of the same thing now. But like, in my head, I didn't think of it as a podcast, even though it is.
Right.
And he's been doing more of the Tack Room Bible Talk.
That's good.
Yeah.
See, now, like I said earlier, it's been a while since I've been able to listen to podcasts regularly. And as a matter of fact, one of the last ones I heard from him, he used to pretty openly share his faith on that podcast. But he actually, one of the last ones I heard from him was saying, I'm not going to be sharing it as much because I've gotten such a bad backlash from people. And I thought, man, what a shame, because, like I said, just kind of common sense cowboy wisdom, and mostly grounded in God's Word and experience. And, man, I appreciated it. So I'm glad to hear he's doing the Tack Room Bible Talk. That's good.
That's a given. Anytime you're going to talk about anything to do with religion or theology or Christianity, there's going to be backlash because people are not going to agree with 100% of your interpretations of Scripture or even just your religion. But it is kind of sad that like Christians give the most backlash, it seems.
I've heard this said of Christians that we eat our own. We're bad to eat our own, and that I've seen that. I've experienced some of that in my life as well. But it's a shame. I feel like too. I'm with you. I almost feel like believers get more flack from other believers than they do even from maybe even atheists or other religions.
And I feel like if it wasn't for, and correct me if I'm wrong, if it wasn't for the social media, it may not be that way.
Well, I think it goes back beyond social media, and I think first of all, let me just take an aside and say, if you're listening to this and you're not a Christian, please don't let what we're saying right now dissuade you from looking into that and following Jesus. When we talk about Christians eating their own, here's the thing. Christians are people just like everybody else. We have flaws. We're not perfect. But we do know the one who is, and he has forgiven our sins. Now, we sometimes still wrestle with our tendencies to not act as much like Jesus as we should or even want to. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're not a believer, please don't think that all Christians are bad, or that if you start going to church you're going to run into all these kind of problems or anything like that. But I think the reason that is that as believers, as Christians, we're supposed to be set apart from the world, so to speak. And that's, again, if you're not a believer, the world, as we would define it, would be just non-Christians.
In the world, not of the world. In
the world, not of the world is what we are supposed to be as Christians. But here's the thing. I think the reason that we're so quick to jump on each other is that, the church word is sanctification.
Right.
We want to live our lives to try to be as holy as we can. And I think excuse me, I think part of that, it lends itself to being critical, because in all honesty, we're kind of critical of ourselves,
Yeah.
and you kind of get into that mindset, and it kind of maybe spills over into other people, and that's a flaw we have to work past. We have to do a better job. And but I will say this: I think that's the exception and not the rule.
Yeah.
I think that if you're in a community of Christ followers or Christians, you're going to find the sweetest, most loving, helpful, gentle people. In fact, let's look at what are the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
Yeah. And for
So-
those who don't know what that is, that's how we're commanded to identify who is truly born again.
That's right. And the fruit, just like the fruit on a tree, whatever is in your DNA as a fruit tree,
Yeah.
or maybe DNA is not the right, but whatever's in your makeup.
Well, yeah, that is right.
If you're an apple tree, you're going to bear apples.
That's what Jesus said. He's like, how can a good tree can't bear bad fruit? Because then it'd be a bad tree.
That's right. So, the symbolism there is, as believers, the fruit that should be coming forth from our life should be that which is instilled in us when the Holy Spirit of God takes up residence in our lives and starts to live out through us. So the fruits of the Spirit coming through the believer is the sign of a true believer, like you said.
Yeah.
The Spirit of God is taking up residence in our heart, and therefore through our lives come all these things. So it comes back to, then why do we eat our own? It's because we don't yield to the Spirit like we should sometimes.
Right.
So I feel like for a second there we were almost eating our own here on the podcast by talking about us eating our own. But
I'm guilty of that.
I'm guilty, and I think if we're all honest, we'd have to say at times we have been.
Right. So we talked about what I listen to, even though I didn't give him many answers.
Right.
You talked about what you listen to. Samuel, I don't know if you're a big podcast guy, but I know you watch a lot of YouTube. Who are your favorite YouTubers or podcasters, if you do listen to that?
I don't listen to music or podcasts. I don't listen to either, really.
But you do watch YouTube.
I do watch YouTube, and I really like. I mainly watch YouTube for cool Lego builds, and then also keeping up with the news on the new Nintendo games.
Yeah.
I don't really watch much gameplay of the new Nintendo games because I don't care much about that. I get all my Nintendo news from Nintendo Land, and then I like watching.
That's the channel.
Yeah, but it's a 10
Yeah, Nintendo Land.
And then I also watch the B3. He's a really good. He builds a lot of good Lego.
And you're a big Mario guy, right?
Yeah.
Because not everybody knows. So, and he likes Mario and Legos. What else?
But really any Nintendo game.
Yeah.
All those, and then Lego. I like collecting Lego. That's really really it, kinda. I want to learn to play an instrument or two.
Well, you started the harmonica. That's good. That's a good place to start, I think,
Yeah.
because it's one that's easy to learn.
Yeah.
Well, you actually own a guitar, kinda.
I don't remember seeing it. I don't remember what it looks like.
You have one of my guitars is bound to be yours, and
What about
so.
Elijah?
Well, I'll have to get one for Elijah.
Yeah.
Won't I? But
I was just saying that.
yeah, so each of my kids has a guitar coming to them. Joseph already has his.
Yeah, I asked for it early.
Well, I was proud to see you take it, and each kid has one designated for them. And Samuel, you can, if you want to learn to play an instrument, why don't we start there?
Yeah, I feel I could. I have the genes to play guitar.
There you go.
That was when I was playing drums Sunday, and this guy named Cruz, he plays guitar now. He came up to me and he was like, "Do you have any advice for learning drums? Because I just got a drum kit." And basically, all I said was, I think this goes for any instrument, is just sit down and have fun with it. Because if you play around with it enough, that's just the way instruments work. The more you play around with it, you're going to get good eventually. And that's kind of how I've approached it.
Well, That's almost true with anything in life, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just have to spend time in it, learn by making mistakes
Yeah.
and correcting them, and then go forward from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I walk Scout, I just take my harmonica on the back deck, sit in one of those chairs, hold the leash, and just start. That's what I do while I walk Scout. I just play the harmonica.
For those of you out there listening, Scout is our miniature schnauzer who basically runs this house, and he's got us all. I would say eating out of the palm of his hand, but I think he's got us all letting him eat out of the palm of our hand. And
Yeah,
so it
he
kinda
loves
goes
some
backwards.
cheese.
He's a big fan of cheese. That's
He
for
probably
sure.
hears you right now.
Yeah, he
Easily.
probably heard me say the word cheese. He's probably walking towards me right now.
Or the fridge.
I can picture him on the other side of the door right now with his ears perked up because he heard you say cheese.
Yep.
And, 2 rooms away.
I'm interested to see how he's going to react to baby Elijah.
That's right. That's coming up soon. About 4 weeks from tomorrow, most likely. Unless he decides to come early, it won't be scheduled. And so we're looking forward to that. I know your mom is looking forward to having him on the outside.
Yeah, I can understand.
I can understand. It's she has worked hard. She's a trooper. I'm really proud of her. So.
Oh yeah.
And that Elijah is going to be a different world for him than it was for you guys. Joseph, you're the oldest, and there was almost 5 years between you and Ellie, so you know a little bit what it's like to be an only child, at least for a little bit.
Right.
And Elijah won't be an only child, but he'll be 10 years behind Daniel. And so it'll, you guys are likely to all be grown up and have families of your own before he even
Right.
thinks about adulthood. So.
Well, that's something I've kind of been thinking about is like there's going to be an almost 20-year age difference between me and him.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that's going to work. And if I do end up going to seminary, it'll probably be when he's like 5 or 6. So he's just going to remember me as the guy who left when he was a kid.
Well, I think with anything else in life, like we talked about, spending time doing things, it's important to spend time. We have to make the time to spend with family. And that's one reason I'm excited about doing this podcast with you is because, you are, in your, just about into your 20s and more independent than you've ever been. And that's natural and it's a good thing. You've got a lot going on in life, and I'm proud of what you're doing and who you are and where you're going in life. And but I'm excited about this because it gives us something to look forward to doing together.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of forces some time together.
Yeah.
And of course, it's cool. Samuel, he says he's making a guest appearance. I have a feeling this will be frequent, and that's
Of course.
good. So
It's my podcast now.
it's your podcast now. That's right. So Samuel, there's one thing you left off. Maybe when we were talking about your interests, and it's on your hat.
This is a good
This is
segue.
good stuff right here. So why don't you tell everybody your opinion? Tell everybody what's on your hat that I'm referring to, and then
I got Bigfoot in my hat right here.
Samuel found Bigfoot.
he actually did. I
And
saw
he got
it
it on video too.
The FBI took it down though.
Yeah, he got banned from YouTube because of it. I think, it was the Illuminati trying to cover up the...
I mean, it could be. I don't know. All I know is it was on YouTube one day, and then the next day it wasn't.
I still have the video.
There was
footage.
about 4 episodes of this, right?
The first 2 are fake, and then I admitted to it. I felt bad, so I went and found them for real twice.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Well, and then
Those
I
ones
found-
aren't fake, though, are they?
Yeah, no, they're not fake at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
Not any editing?
I mean, there's editing, but I'm not editing the part with Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just curious, because it's been a while since I've seen those videos. What was it like seeing the big guy?
He's pretty chill, dude. I think people exaggerating him a bit.
He was nice to you, right?
Yeah, he likes peanut butter crackers. He's mean to a lot of people because they don't have peanut butter crackers on them. So.
Well,
See, this is what I listen to all day, because I told you all about the Blurry Creatures podcast I listen to. This is their main theme, and I like Bigfoot. So
Well, I'll tell you that if you don't take anything else away from this podcast today, just remember if you're going to be in the woods, take some peanut butter crackers just in case you run into Bigfoot. It could save your life.
And if you don't,
So
eat them. It's fine. They're tasty.
wait, so like, are you saying you should bribe him with the peanut butter crackers, or
Leave them on the ground somewhere near your camp, and he'll find them. He'll probably like get up in your camp, just like take a bite, and then like walk away, and he won't get you in trouble, and he'll let you record him. He's like, "Thank you, man. You can record me now."
So did he speak English and say thank you?
No?
No? But it was understood.
Yeah.
The thank you was implied.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay.
what do you think he is? Just an animal.
I don't know.
I think he's hungry for peanut butter crackers. That's,
That's
what he
obvious.
is.
I think he might be working.
No, that's proven. I think.
I think he might be working for the Ritz company.
Oh, so he's
Getting
trying
us-
to push that brand.
Maybe.
So he likes Ritz peanut butter crackers. Like Ritz
Well,
crackers with peanut butter?
Yeah, I never tried the
We should-
other
We
brands.
should do an experiment where you just put out all the peanut butter crackers, see which ones he eats.
Well, that's a good experiment. Maybe we could film that one.
Well, I think he probably left he probably left our property like within like 100-mile radius because he knows if I'm recording him, he might not be ready for the camera and he might get on the internet when he's like,
Well, that's probably why people have such a hard time finding him. He's just camera shy.
yeah.
Yeah,
He's an introvert.
I've heard he doesn't like electronics.
I've heard that. I mean, it sounds to me like he's just a guy that likes peanut butter crackers and he's an introvert. So
I mean,
I can't fault him for that.
hey, maybe he's just like one of us that just never came out of the woods.
I mean, maybe he doesn't have hair just growing all over him like everybody says.
It's a beard.
Maybe it's the hair from his head and his
Yeah,
beard.
that's what I was kind of saying.
Yeah. Maybe it's just that long because he just stayed in the woods. Interesting.
Maybe it's a costume and like he like disguised himself as like a bear because they kept trying to eat him. So then basically he lives with the bears and pretends to be hurt. So they bring him fish and he can survive.
Is that a theory or did you hear that somewhere?
Theory.
That's a theory.
That's such a detailed theory.
Well, I think the peanut butter thing's true. It's
Yeah.
proven. Like we've
You got
seen
that on
that.
camera.
You got that on film. That's good. Man, I tell you what, for a first episode, we've gone everywhere from Christian living to Bigfoot to podcasting and who we listen to.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's what I was saying. We don't really need a script. We can just talk about whatever we want to talk about. Because, like, I don't know about y'all. I'm not worried about trying to get a ton of views. Because I think if you try to get views, you end up not getting them because you're too focused on it.
And I think you're right. I think if you're doing something for the purpose of popularity or fame or trying to get out there,
Right.
then it's not going to be your best work even because it's not going to be passionate. And I think speaking for myself, one reason I like the Robertsons so much is because they're just real.
Yeah, they don't have to try to get views because they got their own.
They already had
show
a
and
platform,
everything.
sure, but I think people in general can relate to authenticity
Right.
and a non-scripted kind of just talking.
Yeah,
And
I can say that from experience when I was making YouTube videos regularly and doing it just for the purpose of trying to get views, and I would just upload the terrible videos. They didn't get as many views as the ones I just did for fun.
Yeah,
So,
I think people appreciate that.
Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of the platforms. Give me money.
yeah.
I like it.
There was another thing I was going to say about that, but I forgot what it was.
Well,
Oh yeah, I was going to say we're not really doing this for the purpose of fame. We're just trying to have something fun to do together.
yeah.
Make entertainment and, provide a way for people to just relax, I guess. And maybe learn something, Not that I'm the smartest guy. I know Dad pretty much is.
Oh, I don't know about that. I have to say I don't think so, but
Samuel is.
Samuel's definitely the one. So
I hide it because if they know, then they start overthinking it.
Well, there you go. Well, that's quite a first episode.
Yeah. I think we're gonna try to get some guests on soon. I mean, Samuel's he's not really a guest. He is a guest, but he's welcome anytime.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of hard to be a guest when you live here, right?
Yeah.
So
well, make yourself at home.
I am at home.
you are at home. I like the idea. Let's have some guests. I mean, we've got a lot of interesting friends.
Well, I don't want to drop any names yet because we don't know for sure if they're gonna come on.
Right.
But some of the guys I was talking to, and you probably know who I'm talking about. One of them wants to talk about Flat Earth.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
And then we have a few other people.
One guy was at one point a pirate, right?
That's what I believe so. He gave me a pirate hat today
He gave you a pirate hat.
and a katana.
So he's like a
Second-
samurai pirate.
I think he was just all of the above. He was probably like a samurai knight.
No, he's the smartest guy.
He's definitely pretty smart.
He's way up there for sure.
Yeah, and then we got one of my friends. We got a lot of people who are like pastors who might come on, or like one guy went to seminary. I don't know for sure if any of those people are going to come on. So
Well, we do have a kind of a broad base of friends that come from a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of interesting stories there. I'd love to help tell or let somebody tell. And we've got musician friends that would probably have some cool stories and experiences. And
speaking of which, what other like musicians have you met?
What other
like famous people?
Oh well,
Or not even necessarily musicians, like, because I know you've met a lot of famous like Christian singers and stuff like that.
Right.
But anyone famous you've met?
So, I mean, just being a musician and being into music, anybody who would even be considered remotely famous has mostly been musicians. I did back in the day, and some of you won't have any clue who this is, but I met the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks at the time, Bob Weiss was his name.
Cool.
And I can't remember what year. This was a long time ago. I was much younger than you are now. I met Dominique Wilkins briefly.
I know who that is.
Yeah, everybody knows who that is. But the first round draft pick from that year was a guy named Adam Keefe, and I met him like right after the draft.
Yeah.
I happened to be in Atlanta.
That's pretty cool.
At a conference, and I snuck out of the conference to go meet the basketball players. But anyway, I guess the statute of limitations on being punished for that are passed. But but yeah, I met those guys briefly, and
Did you meet the Newsboys in a hotel?
I did. Yeah, so that's a fun story. We used to go to the Extreme Winter Conference every year with our church youth group, and this one particular year, we happened to be staying at the same hotel as Newsboys. This is back in the
Pete
Furler. It's the Pete Furler days when he was the lead singer. And so I was sitting in the lobby with some of the people in our group, and the story goes, and there's a lot of different versions of this story, and I don't think any of them are exactly true. But the story goes that a couple of the girls, and one of them might have been your mom, went running chasing Phil Joel down the hall because he came in.
We might have to edit that out.
We might have to edit that out. But we'll see.
That's the part that's not true, guys.
Yeah, I don't think. I think she was just with her friends. I don't think she was never been the type to chase somebody down a hotel.
Phil Joel's the one with like the long
blonde hair. Yeah, he was the.
They're Australian, right?
Yeah, they are. But Pete Furler was there, and so after word got around to us that the Newsboys were in the hotel, a friend of ours, Kyle, and I were going up. We were sharing a room on that trip, and we got in the elevator to go upstairs to the room, and lo and behold, Duncan and Jody from Newsboys got on the elevator. Oh no, not Duncan. Jody and Jeff from Newsboys got on the elevator with us, and we just played it cool. We didn't say anything, and I'm not sure if Kyle even recognized them. But once the doors closed, it was the four of us in the elevator, and I said, Kyle, I want to introduce you to Jody and Jeff. And they looked around at me like, who in the world are you? I said, Jody plays guitar for Newsboys and Jeff plays keyboards. And they were really gracious and really kind. But that was a fun experience. And then Pete would actually, we were there for like 3 or 4 days, I can't remember, but I met him walking on the sidewalk early in the morning a couple of different times. And he took time to talk to me, and we prayed together, and just a really cool guy, really cool experience. But I mean, in the Christian music world, I've met several. I mean, I've met all the guys from Third Day, who I'm excited to say are coming back together for a reunion tour next year.
That's your favorite band?
That's my favorite band of all time. But I've met Mac on several occasions. But I've met the whole band just like in meet and greet type stuff after concerts mostly. But we've seen them I don't know how many times through the years, and they've always been very kind and receive their fans so well. And all the guys from New Song.
Oh wow!
Eddie Carswell is one of the nicest men you'll ever meet. And he's one of the founding members of New Song.
Yeah.
But you talk about a guy who I'm convinced loves the Lord and has taken time many times to encourage me. And I appreciate Eddie so much. And there was a guy that was with New Song for a long time, Steve Reichel. And Steve was a really nice guy and would take me backstage.
That's cool.
At concerts. And actually ended up recording. He had a studio in Nashville for a while. And he ended up recording a band I was playing in. So I got to spend some time with him in the studio up there. And he was a really kind, really nice guy. Gosh, I mean, I met Stephen Curtis Chapman
really?
briefly. Yeah, backstage. Yeah. I used to have a gift for getting backstage at concerts without a pass. Really? Yeah. And I think the key is just look confident and look like you're supposed to be there. And people don't ask questions. If you know,
I'm going to stop you right there because I remember when I was a kid and I would read the books about Boba Fett. Yeah. That's the exact same thing he would say.
Just look like you're supposed to be there.
Yeah, this is when he was a kid. It was supposed to be like right after episode 2. And like for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about Star Wars.
You're going to find in this podcast we will probably talk a lot about Star Wars.
In fact, we're probably going to do a whole episode on why I think the Empire wasn't the bad guys. But anyway.
Controversy.
What was I saying? Oh yeah.
Boba Fett.
It's when he's a kid and like his dad, and if you know Star Wars, you're going to know who Boba Fett is, but for those who have no idea what I'm talking about, he's like trying to figure out how to be a bounty hunter, basically, like following his dad's footsteps. And he's like, at one point, he's like, I figured out if I just act like I'm supposed to be there, then nobody will stop me from doing whatever I want or just going wherever I want. And that just kind of reminded me of that.
Well, I think confidence goes a long way in a lot of things in life. So
right. We met AJ Styles.
Yeah,
we're not going to dox him, but he lives relatively close to us.
Yeah, and he's a super nice guy, and so yeah, we did meet AJ Styles, and
he's kind of like a redneck, I would say. I feel like that's just WWE.
In the good way. Yeah, in the good way.
Bad. See, I didn't grow up thinking that was a bad thing. Like, well, when I thought of redneck, I just thought of like the Robertsons.
Yeah,
because that's like the only place I really heard that.
Well, they wore that name with a badge of honor as a badge of honor. They when I was younger, redneck was an insult.
It's like a derogatory.
It was a derogatory term, but they kind of turned it around.
Where does it come from? What, just like being sunburnt, or?
Yeah, I think it originated with country people working out in fields and getting sunburn on the back of their neck, and I mean, if that's the case, I'm literally a redneck. And, so
more of like a tan neck, right? I guess I am a redneck.
Well, I've been trying to use some sunscreen in recent years, so I don't want to get cancer.
It's not doing anything right now this week.
Right. This week is like walking on the surface of the sun, drinking a hot coffee, and it's bad.
In fact, like working landscaping this summer, I was talking to my friend the other day, and he's Hispanic, and we like held our arms up together, and I'm white. For anyone who can't tell, you should be able to. My skin is darker than his, so I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, and I've got the permanent watch and ring tan lines, so Miss Ginger there is not worried about me being able to fool
Yeah,
anybody.
even if you take off your ring, you still have one.
In fact, my white gold wedding band, if I slide it off, I think the tan line is actually brighter than the wedding band. But it looks like I have a white watch and a white ring on at all times. So, being out in the sun all the time.
Oh yeah, we're also big Lord of the Rings fans.
Yes. Now you guys are probably much more into that than I really like it. I appreciate it, but you guys have kind of taken it to the next level.
We've really we got into it like last year, really.
Mm-hmm.
But I meant it when I said I'm a nerd, and ever since said the word.
Well, when you said that earlier, I thought back to what we used to say when I was a kid. Nerd stands for never-ending radical dude.
Well, I'm pretty radical sometimes. But
Yeah.
I guess.
There you go. Well, somebody would call you a nerd in elementary school or middle school. It's supposed to be an insult.
Well,
so, of
like,
course, you got to make up something to say it's not an
saying
insult.
radical is like saying cool, right? Like,
Right. It's like Southern California radical.
Yeah,
like,
that's rad,
surfer
dude.
talk. Radical dude. So,
yeah.
Anyway, and there was a movie back in the 80s called Rad. About this guy riding dirt bikes.
Sounds like a good movie.
Yeah. I think I'm just telling the audience how old I am. Is what.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of people your age probably listening to podcasts.
I hope so.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, that may be a good place to kind of wrap it up for tonight. We've covered a lot. We've got to save something for the next podcast, right?
Right. I'm sure we won't run out of stuff to talk about.
Well, every day the world turns, we'll have something to talk about. That's for sure. So, well, thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in and listening with us today. We really appreciate you guys who are taking time to give an unknown podcast a try, and hopefully you'll tune back in for the next one. We look forward to making more for you. And Samuel, glad you were with us today.
You got anything to say, Samuel?
No.
Well,
Joseph, any parting wisdom you want to?
oh gosh, no, I'm not. Nothing comes to mind right now. I'm not very wise.
You're not. Oh, come on.
Well, I am sometimes. It just kind of comes to me. I think it's just the Holy Spirit that I like, because I'm not wise at all.
Oh, there you go.
Here is your parting
Humble.
wisdom.
Right, Samuel?
It's not about how long the race is. It's about how many chicken nuggets you ate before it.